Is the H2D the next printer from Bambu Labs? Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to take a quick little moment to talk about the rumors of this new Bambu Lab printer. Now, I know I'm not going to be making any predictions. I want to talk specifically about the H2D that has been recently leaked. So if you haven't been in the Bambu forums or somewhere YouTube where you might have heard about this, recently there's a picture that's going around that shows this H2D. And so I want to talk a bunch about that, but rather than just going off of what I can remember, let's go over to the computer and so I can show you what I'm talking about. So let's talk about this a little bit. First, I want to thank, Skimbody here, who provided the world with this straightened image. The original image was kind of warped. It looked like somebody took a flyer or something and took a picture of it. And you can see it looks like this is a test print. It's got the registration marks here for some, that you wouldn't normally see on a finished product. So this is probably like a layout. You've got some dimensions here, and I'm not going to go into all of this. Everybody can speculate. It's obviously a bigger printer than the X1 Carbon, just based on the dimension size. I have seen some things that talk about a build size of maybe 325 cubed. But for now, let's talk a little bit more specifically about what we see here. Now, if you remember back in October, we had this post from Bambu Lab that said they are pushing the release. Originally, their next flagship printer was supposed to come out in 2024, but they had pushed it into Q1 of 2025, so we've probably got up to another 3 months. And they say they're taking the time to polish in innovative features that'll push the boundaries of consumer 3D printing. And then we got a bunch more information that they wanted to let you know, but I'm going to point this out here. It will be positioned above our current X1 series, targeting prosumers who demand cutting-edge performance. We are focusing on features that will enable capabilities previously not possible in consumer 3D printing. So they kind of left us with that teaser, and then we start seeing what we have in that picture here. So potentially the H2D. No idea what H2 or D stand for, but hopefully we'll find out more in the coming future. So if we look again at it being positioned above the current X1 series and we take a look at the store, the X1 normally sells for almost $1,500. It's on sale now for $1,299. But so I would not expect to see anything that's probably less than $1,500. So we're probably talking, $2,000, $3,000 range on this H2D. But what is that, increase in cost and size going to buy you? So now we get into some more of the kind of what the internet has found. I'm not taking any credit for any of this, but this is the big one. So this is from a patent, and again, I did not deep dive into this because just because a company files a patent doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be in the next device. Sometimes, it's a concept and it never comes to fruition. It could be several printers from now. It could be something that never sees the light of day. But this design here shows a dual nozzle hot end instead of having interchangeable or independent, IDEX is what you keep hearing, which is, I think, independent dual extruders. So instead of having two different tool heads that it has to, kind of like the Prusa XL, where it has multiple tool heads and it goes and it picks up a new tool head and then does its printing and it puts that one back and picks up another one, so you can have multiple colors without the waste. This being a dual hot end tool head, single tool head but dual extruders, it looks like what we have here is we've got this servo at the top that allows it to pivot one of the two hot ends with their own extrusion systems into position. So what that would do for us is, let's say, right now, if you talk about, support, some people, it's advantageous to print with a different type of filament. You might be printing something with PLA, but if you use PETG as a support, because those two filaments don't bond together, you have supports that are easy to remove as opposed to I deal with it all the time, supports that are tricky to remove, or if you're working with fine models, it may actually snap the model as you're trying to remove these supports. So a system like this would allow you could have, PLA in one of the hot ends, PETG in another, and since they're both, you don't have to cut a filament, retract a filament, load a new filament, purge the old filament out of the hot end, create the poop, all that kind of stuff. You have two hot ends. All it has to do is when I'm, printing, I can't tell which finger is which. I'm printing with this one, doing my regular thing. Now I need a support. I just move this one into place, and now I can print with this one, and then, I'm just going back and forth. But I don't have to go through the purge cycles. I don't have to cut filament. So it's not, multiple tool heads, so you do have some limitations there, but it could be a very interesting solution. And if you were only doing a 2-color print, then no problem. So this gives you the ability to do 2-color prints without changing filament, or to do 2 different filaments, or 2 different types. And then of course, since you have multiple hot ends here, you could have, different temperatures on either of these based on what you were printing. Now, couple other things that people have found. We've got this diagram for a different tool head, and I think one of the things is you're going to run into some challenges with cooling. You don't want to have one hot end that's not in use being heated, because then it could ooze and cause problems with your print. So you're probably going to need multiple air paths. You're going to have one nozzle that you're heating, and you've got another nozzle that you're cooling. So that could be a potential solution there. And then this item also came up, which is kind of an interesting diagram. And what we see here is 4 inputs. So if you think your 4 colors, or whatever the 4 filaments are in the AMS, and then you've got this solenoid here, which would push this or pull this, so it directs it into one of 2. So it's kind of a 4-to-2. Now, you may obviously, if you look at the ports here, you can only run one of these 4 filaments into one of these 2 pathways. You couldn't, select both, because you'd have a filament that would be running here, and once that filament is inserted, you're not going to be able to move this. So maybe you'd have one of these for each tool head. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but it's another interesting piece of this equation, and hopefully it will all become clear. Now, going back to our picture here, and actually let me pull it up in Photoshop so we can take a better look at the photo. The AMS here is different. So there's some interesting things going on down here in the bottom. Obviously, it would be great if this thing had some built-in heating mechanism so that you could dry your filament while it was in there. So another interesting thing that we may be seeing here. And then here you can see there's definitely something going on with the tool head that looks like, potentially, I don't know, but there's 2 things here. So maybe it's, this multi hot end tool head. And then the final thing that I want to talk about, yes, so we have leaks, and this could be, hey, it was never intended to get out, or is this strategically leaked by Bambu? Because if you think about it, you've got all these people that have been waiting, and they're maybe, they're sick of waiting. Are they ready to jump? And, we've got other printers from different companies. But if you think, we've got, one of our main competitors here with Prusa, and they just released the information on the Prusa Core 1, and it is priced in the same ballpark as the X1 Carbon. Now, I won't go into, all the pros and cons of this device here, but they've definitely taken a few shots at Bambu with, talking about the idler wheels and being able to replace parts. But from a strategic look, if you're worried about people maybe jumping ship, or you've got people that are getting ready to plunk down money in this, but you put out this leak and say, hey, look at what we have coming. Do you really want to spend your money on this one? Or maybe now you're thinking, all right, I really like what I see here in this H2D. Maybe I'm going to wait a little bit longer. I'll see how, all these other printers fare in reviews, et cetera, et cetera. And that buys Bambu Lab just a little more time for people to make their decision and hopefully hang on for the H2D. So I would love to know what you think about this potential leak that we have here. Is this the next Bambu Lab printer? Or I've also seen some things that say that, oh, this has been around since 2022. This is, old news. I don't know. What do you think? Would you be interested in a printer that had two hot ends in one tool head? Apparently it's not the first time that this has been done, but what are you thinking? Please take a moment, drop some of your thoughts in the comments. If I'm way out to lunch, let me know. You won't hurt my feelings too much. But I just thought I would take a couple minutes and make this video so that everybody could talk about, if you haven't heard it yet, and let me know what you think about what could potentially be the next printer from Bambu Lab. As always, I appreciate the time that we've spent here together today. So if you like what I'm doing, please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the little bell to be notified when I drop new content, and hit the subscribe button so that you can join my channel and help me continue to bring you the latest news and fun things in the lasers, 3D printing, and CNC worlds. So take care, everyone.